Nini everyone, Zabora here. So sorry, I tried to make this video earlier and it just wasn't coming out right. It just felt so forced and I had like no patience with editing or anything, so I just deleted it and I'm gonna try again. So I know I've been kind of absent for the first or the last couple days. I've got a lot on my plate right now. A friend of mine went and adopted this beautiful baby. He's a special needs dog. His back legs aren't paralyzed, but they're pretty draggy. He's got a severe back injury, but he's an absolute sweetheart. He's a American bully and boxer mix. And I took my girls over there so that, they could play and stuff with him. And he's an absolutely adorable little boy. But he's just kind of such a big dog and needs a lot of care. So I've been helping my friend with him and getting his chair situated and everything. But he's an absolutely loving, caring, fun little boy. Look at his little tail going up and stuff. So anyway, over the past week of me dealing with the mundane, I've had some questions pop up, and one of the questions that I'd like to address first before we get into any kind of screenshots was actually part of a conversation that I had with Blue Sage and Lady Witch and Pastel Moonbeam and Reverend Victoria. We were talking about something that Blue Sage was told by this fucking moron. They said that crystals have fractures in them because they've absorbed negativity. And I'm not sure what Harry Potter fucking book they've been reading, but that's just utter crap. I remember a friend of mine was actually interested in divination using crystal balls, and I bought her like a crystal ball and a book on crystal ball divination, on scrying, and on scrying with crystal balls. And I remember reading the author said, because I read the book, the author did say that they like to turn their crystal balls over and look at the fissures and the cracks and stuff, and it helps them to see certain images and stuff in their divination. So you have a well-renowned author who is saying, hey, that's totally normal, and that's actually how you can get better visions if you look at these cracks and fissures within the naturally occurring crystal. I personally don't like using glass for crystal scrying. I don't know, scrying really isn't my thing anyway. But I'm not fond of the idea of using glass. Yes, I know that quartz is basically glass and it's made up of silica and the same bullshit. But, like, once you melt it down, it transforms. And that's just the way I feel about, like, fire and stuff. It's transformation, you can put a bunch of crap into a bowl and mix it up, but it doesn't become a cake until it goes into the oven. So, that's just how I feel. I personally just don't like the idea of using glass for scrying and thinking that it's the same thing as using crystal, when crystal has a different vibratory pattern to it that I feel is very significant. But yeah, that's just one of the things that I don't agree with, even though the author says, hey, it's totally fine, you don't have to get a crystal ball. And you keep them covered, not because of spirits and stuff like that, but because it's a fucking fire hazard. You get light streaming through a crystal or a glass ball, and you're gonna start a fire eventually. So you keep those bitches covered. Anyway, that was just something we were laughing about. Crystals have fissures for various reasons, whether it be heat or pressure that they experience in the Earth's surface, or through mining or shaping through human hands. It has nothing to do with negativity, although I'm sure some crystal somewhere has exploded after being absorbed in so much negativity. But the vast majority of them, that doesn't happen. So, let's see, scroll up here. Okay, so one of the questions that I got was here from Seven Letters. Now, Seven Letters, he's the one that actually designed and shipped my set statue to me that I love so dearly. I mean, this thing just, it's amazing, and I've fallen absolutely head over heels in love with this statue. It felt a little weird when I first got it, but I've just grown so enamored with it. I absolutely adore this thing. I really wish he would make more and ship more, but the shipping from his country outside to, like, say, the United States or Europe or wherever else, it's really not practical. A lot of his statues get damaged during shipping, and it's really hard for him to create these wonderful works of art that are unique and everything that he cannot ever replace, and then have them shatter during the fucking mailing process. So it's really sad that he doesn't do them anymore. I feel like this was one of the last pieces he ever did was my set statue, and I am incredibly lucky to have it. But anyway, he wanted to know, because of the Psalm of the Aten video that I did, where the Aten is actually placed in my personal practice. And not very high up on the list is the Aten, just because the Aten in a historical context is a composite, plural form, monotheistic type entity. I've just never been comfortable with working with composite deities in that manner, which is really kind of funny, because Egypt did the composite deity better, I think, than any other religion ever did, and they were blatant about it. In the Hindu religion, you have, manifestations of Krishna and stuff like that, but they are separate and distinct entities, and that's how I've always treated deities. When I was a theist, it was a separate and distinct entity. But with Egypt, with ancient Egypt, with Kemeticism, you have composite deities like Bas, Sekhmet, Mut, and I don't work with these deities at all. I just don't feel that is the right thing for me to do, so I don't do it, even though it's historically correct. This is just my whole thing about how I prefer to work. If you are into that, go for it. It is historically justified. It's just not my thing, and I treat these entities as separate. So the Aten, the sun disk, 100% scientifically speaking needed for life and for us to survive as humans. We need the sun. But in my personal practice, I really don't work with the Aten at all, outside of, I know that it's the sun disk that's on, Sekhmet's crown. And I've said this before, but when you got She of 10,000 names, do you really need anyone else? So that's just how I feel. But the Aten, for me, is not an entity that I personally work with a lot. So the next one that I got here was from the Witch Sophia. And they had a question about the opening of the mouth. They actually had several questions about the opening of the mouth. The opening of the mouth ritual is not something that I've ever felt the need to do. When I first started getting into Kemeticism, I was a fence sitter. I was sort of theistic in nature. And the way that it was explained to me is that these deities, once the opening of the mouth is performed, and you do only need to do it once. I know that the Witch Sophia did ask that. You only need to perform this once. Once you open the mouth of an icon statue, it becomes a living vessel. It becomes something that you have to feed and make offerings to, because a god lives there. And that's when, the shrine box should be closed, because gods like their privacy and all that. And I've never felt the need to do it because, one, historically speaking, you're supposed to feed them 3 times a day. And I don't have that kind of devotion in me to feed them for 3 meals a day. I know some people say only ever do it on Sundays or once a week or once a month or whatever. And then my Shem priest, my high priest, Tut, she said, it's okay to do the ritual if you want, because gods are free roaming entities. Susie down here don't have nothing, so they're gonna go to Billy Joe down the road because he's giving them cornflakes today. So there's also the idea that the carvings and stuff that survive in ancient Egypt and in books and photographs and stuff, they serve as food sources for the god. They're symbolically feeding the gods through these carvings. So you don't really have to worry about feeding them. But me, coming from that reconstruction spirit, I just don't feel comfortable with performing this ritual, because I don't have it in me to do the devotion behind this ritual. And for me, that's a very big step, so I chose not to do it. So the opening of the mouth is basically just that. You're splitting open the mouth symbolically with what is called an adze, A-D-Z-E. And I've actually got a picture. I did snap a picture here from my Book of the Dead. Now here you see the mouth being opened by the local god, but here is the adze. This thing right here, this blade on the end right here, and then it's a curved stick, and this here is what is one of the tools that they use to open the mouth of not only mummies but also icon statues. And I believe the ritual is pretty similar for both. Originally, I believe it was just the icons that would receive this, but it actually turned into something that they would do for mummies very early on in the I think it's like the first dynasty, first to third dynasty, when the pyramids were being built and the pyramid texts and the coffin texts were emerging, that this sort of took place and became a mummy ritual, something that they would perform on the dead as they would prepare the mummy. So basically what you do is you take this these special tools, and there's more than one. I believe they were agricultural tools at one point, and then they became surgical tools, and then ritualized tools. And you are symbolically splitting the mouth open so that the mummy can eat, they can breathe, they can, and also statues, and they're able to consume food stuff and whatnot, and be sustained through it. Witch Sophia asked about two cups, the black and white cup right here. And the black and white cups are symbols of the Eye of Horus, the left and right eye. And they are, I mean, you don't have to use them, obviously, but they are historical to have the white and black cups. I prefer the sake cups, which is one of the things that my teacher suggested to us was like these little sake cups you can get on Amazon. I got a 4-pack of white ones for quite cheaply. That's something that you can do if you want to be a little bit more historically accurate with it. And it's not, you don't have to do this every time. You only do this once, as I said. So you're just opening the mouths once. You're just opening the mouths of the mummy once. And I do believe it's in the icons and not the mummy ritual that you would actually hold up a calf leg, a cooked calf's leg, before the nose of the gods, along with flowers and incense and things like that to sustain the life of these deities. So the cups are symbolic, but it's also part of the ritual. Everything is kind of symbolic here. I did ask Tut about this because I came across Spell 23, as I said, in the Book of the Dead, where it begins talking about this. And actually the reason why I was going to hold off and wait until she did a video is because I came across the line, "I am Orion, the great who dwells in the souls of Heliopolis." And I know Orion is more Greek, so I was wondering if maybe this was like a mistranslation, or were they appropriating the constellation of Orion that we know into the Book of the Dead, because the Egyptians, they saw the same constellation. They saw Orion, and they actually ascribed it to Osiris. And Sopdet is actually the star Sirius, that's the dog that's at Orion's feet in the sky, and it's actually attributed to Isis. And when Sopdet rises, when Isis, the star of Isis, comes above the horizon, that's when the flooding would happen, and all that. So if you want to learn more about the opening of the mouth ritual, I'm going to go ahead and suggest Spell 23 from Faulkner's translation of the Book of the Dead. But as I said, Tut also wrote a little bit about it in the Consecration Rites of Following the Sun, a guide to the Egyptian religion, and I've actually got screenshots of that up here. So the consecration ritual on page starts on 194. And you can go ahead and just stop the video whenever if you want to read about the opening of the mouth here. I'm just going to flick through it here. So yeah, these are the 3 screenshots. So this is page 1, consecration ritual. Page 2 is the actual beginning of the opening of the mouth and the closing of the opening of the mouth. And yeah, if you guys want to learn more about that, I'm going to go ahead and also leave a link to her channel down below, because she did talk about it in the icon video, which I will link and whatnot. So let's see, what other questions did I have? I know I had a few more. Oh, Sandra wants more spells, and I understand, hun. I've just been, like I said, I've been busy with my own stuff. I will try to write another spell. I did actually sit down and attempt to do that, but I just felt so meh about it that I wasn't really getting anywhere. I wasn't really in the mood for it. So I'm sorry. I will get to it. There's just so much other stuff that I do want to do too. I gotta finish the I want to do the tarot video, the God series video. I want to finish our lessons and whatnot. So I will eventually get in the mood and write you another spell. Another thing, I was talking to this guy named Kenny, and Kenny and he first asked about the Anunnaki theory, which is the theory that ancient aliens came to Earth and impregnated humanoids and stuff and infused their DNA with ours, and that's why monkeys became smart humans and whatnot. But to fucking even buy into that is completely to ignore science. And then he started talking about evolution, and he's like, I don't understand evolution and how it thinks that we just evolved out of, and we're only like a few thousand years old. And I'm like, well, dude, then you don't understand evolution. And I linked him to PBS Eons if you guys want to learn more about evolution. PBS Eons, Human Evolution. There's a whole fucking playlist. You can also check out Aaron Ra. He's got the phylogenetic tree project that he's been working on for several years, and he's just like recently completed. It's even in video fucking format if you want to look at that. You can, oh god, there's so many sources on evolution that you can just look at. So yeah, those were the questions that I was asked that people wanted to ask me, and I dealt with. These are my puppies. Yeah, we were having a blast over there playing with my friend's dog. He's just so cute. Look at that face. How can you be mad at that face? That is a cute face. So yeah, this video is getting kind of long. Hopefully it'll upload and we won't have no problems this time. So that's it for tonight, guys. Synapte.